from the investor perspective, we are considered as three brothers.
So family business. We are family, but we also are a team. And if we don't perform well as a team, the team can't exist anymore. So there is still the family relationship, but not the team relationship.
It's the same as a marriage, but it's a different type of marriage.
Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Founder's Diary. How are you doing today?
Doing well, doing well.
Yeah, well, today we're going to dive into the family matters of it all. So as many of the listeners may not know, this is actually a family business in some respects. These two are brothers.
Yep, in some way we are. And then, of course, we have Duca.
Yeah.
But the investors that we have, what do they say again?
The three musketeers, the three brothers. I think they have quite some names for us. But yeah, from the outside, from the investor perspective, we are considered as three brothers.
So family business.
Yeah. Sort of. Your chosen family as well.
Yep.
And on the subject of choosing, how do you choose a founder or a co-founder?
It's a tough question. I think we are really lucky that it came pretty natural. So yeah, just many years back, I think me personally, I was always pretty entrepreneurial. I know Sam as well and Duca as well. And I think Duca and I, we found each other pretty soon already, right? I think 18, 19, 17, we were already 18, 19, 17, we already were working on selling BlackBerry things, just random stuff, small sites, some games, whatever. But then, yeah, we started actually doing a bit more serious into web design. And I think it grew pretty naturally. Yeah, since we both were really focused at building something. And yeah, Sam tagged along also quite naturally, because that's the fun story. Where we started was a incubator, and the definition of an incubator is the place where companies are born.
Yeah.
And Sam built his first company there, and Duke and I, and we built it essentially in the same incubator. And eventually it merged together. But I think, we were really fortunate for this, natural evolvement. But a co-founder in general, like the principles which we value a lot is, being able to communicate on a radical, transparent level. And it's always improving, right? It's a weekly topic. How can we communicate even better? And I think it's the communication, the trust, and really knowing what kind of skills the other person has. And that's like my personal point of view.
Maybe I'm also just thinking like it felt always super natural.
Yeah.
But maybe the reason why it is so natural is that the three of us, we have the same values. And we also sort of have the same vision for the lifestyle that we want to have. And I think it's super important with your co-founder that you align on those sort of things. Like if one of the co-founders is interested in working 9 to 5, having more of a balanced life, and the other just wants to go as hard as possible. Like there's not really a match between in the deep core, the values, the lifestyle you want to live. So I think that's just super crucial that you align on those fundamentals, like how much work do you want to put in? What is the end goal? What happens when? So those sort of things were natural, like they aligned. And I think that's the reason why we were able to grow towards each other and become actual co-founders.
Yeah, it also ties into like communication, right? I think we established the trust with each other that we have the ability to communicate with each other about it, right? You can still have it individually, but it's also not weird if someone else talks about it. So it's, obviously we're, like Sam said, individually already aligned on certain goals. It's still cool and awesome just to talk about these things. But it comes down to communication. And when you communicate, you learn if you are aligned or not.
Yeah, I guess that's a big part of it. Well, as they always say, communication is key.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious, like, what's it like working with family? I have a twin sister myself, and when we were younger, like, we always had these like American little lemonade stands or like chocolate chip cookies, and sometimes it went really well. Other times we'd be like at each other's throats, like I worked harder, like, or things like that. Like, how do you balance this, like keeping your relationship and working with each other
I think again it's communication. Like you can pick a co-founder, but then it also needs to stay your co-founder for as long as your business exists. And I think that's only possible just with communication, but not just communication in the regular sense, but really super transparent, in-depth communication, how you feel about certain things, and always just speaking up. Like if you have an argument, for example, after the lemonade stand, that someone worked harder than the other person, that means while you were operating the lemonade stand, there was not the communication about work. And that's also with us, like on a daily basis, we need to assess for ourselves, like, are we all aligned on the same things? Do we have feedback for each other? Like you can't hold any of that information up, I think. You just really need to be super transparent and always say what you think. Of course, you need to find the right time, but you don't need to sit on that sort of information. You just need to say it as soon as possible, get it off your chest, communicate about it, and not like hold certain things up and then after a couple of weeks you just get angry. So I think that's one of the keys.
I think what you obviously paint is like the perfect picture, but also to be realistic is that this also sometimes doesn't happen, right? So I think how I see it is that we have like these natural discussions. Sometimes they're heated, sometimes they're less heated, but I think the nice thing is always that you find that common ground like really quickly as well, right? I think the goal is always to communicate transparent, but sometimes it's not possible, and you need to communicate even more transparent on a level you haven't communicated before or about a certain topic. And that's learn as you go, as long as the value of communication is equally important for every individual. You find alignment also quickly, like in a discussion. And I'm always not per se a big fan of discussions, but it is really again
necessary.
It's necessary, but it's also as re-establishing the values constantly, right? It's you don't forget it. Like it's it's always in your head.
And maybe coming back to your question, what is like working with family? I think if the communication is good, it's really an advantage, because if the relationship, if the communication is good, you're not afraid to say anything. So whatever comes to mind, of course, process it, think about it. Don't just say things that you don't really want to say. But since there's this, like family type of relationship, I think you're less scared to say certain things, because whatever you say or whatever the discussion may lead towards, you're still family and really good friends. And there's a super solid foundation, which will never break if you work on it. So I think if you do it right, it's a super big advantage, but because you can have the discussions, you can have the fights without being scared of, oh no, we're gonna go apart and the business will go down. Like that's not a question at all. We can have any sort of conversation, also with Duca, without being scared that it will affect the relationship or the business. So I think in that sense, it can be a big advantage.
That's very interesting. I know, like last episode we spoke about how you both hope that you can run your business as a team, but having founders that are like family, but having a business that's like a team, how do you navigate those boundaries, I guess, when obviously we spoke last week about like when you're with someone who's in your family, that means something totally different than if you try to think about working with someone like at a team level. Like how do you kind of navigate that kind of interesting dynamic?
My voice the whole time. No. Navigating the dynamic, I think it's always a challenge in a way that I think Sam and I, our relationship is like really, and also with the relationship of Sam, myself and Duca, like it's grown so close that you sometimes you aren't aware of the fact that you actually are family, because it is so natural. I do think it becomes more problematic when you don't have the values established, just as co-founders, as general, because then that will reflect. And if you're family and you do personal stuff also outside of it, like it can, it can kill everything, right? You can have a personally bad mood in the business. So I think, if you pick out a co-founder, a family member, I think the basis of the relationship needs to be extremely healthy. Really healthy, however you want to phrase it. And then you can think about going into business with that person. And it also is for your co-founder, right? You need to have titanium foundation before you're gonna go with someone in business. Like it's the same as a marriage, but it's a different type of marriage, but it's the same. You're not gonna marry your partner in the same month. It can take years and years till you make that decision. And it's the same with a co-founder.
What's interesting is we are family, but we're also a team, like you said. So we all need to perform. And that's also crucial. Like we are family, but we also are a team. And if we don't perform well as a team, the team can't exist anymore. So there is still the family relationship, but not the team relationship. So it's really important to always assess the performance of the three of us. And we look at it on a weekly basis. We have a meeting on Monday, just showing all the projects that are going on, everything that we're working on, things we're struggling with, just to on a consistent basis work on our own performance. So not that someone is gonna lag or underperform, but it's always just as consistent as possible. So we don't need to have that sort of conversation like someone is underperforming, because we're always on a weekly basis just assessing what we're doing, if we're doing a good job, if we're doing a bad job, and helping each other if we are underperforming or if there are personal issues that affect your performance. I think we believe now over the years that we've worked together that is sort of the secret to managing the family relationship, but also the team relationship, where you always have to perform.
Really interesting. I know you've talked a little bit about how you now schedule in kind of these routines and rituals to check in with each other, stay on the same page. Do you also have some things kind of scheduled in to maintain that personal relationship?
Yeah, every Monday we have like the week kickoff, which is more like a weekly report of the week prior. So that like aligns on any business challenges, also personal challenges if they are any. And every Wednesday we do always a dinner outside the office.
Nice.
Pretty consistent already for a really, really long time. And that allows us also to level on a personal level. Obviously, work always comes to play, but it's good to do also something outside.
Just talk about nonsense for an hour instead of business. Like it's important. And sometimes a dinner like that is 100% business. Other times it's 100%. We have no idea what we're talking about, but I think that balance just important. We do, also consistent. I think every year, some sort of trip with the three of us. The beginning of the year, we did it this year. Also outside the office environment and just doing something together this year, maybe a bit cliche, but we went skiing together with the three of us. But it is important to also do that sort of stuff together. So you're not only the team, but you're still sort of the family, and the strong foundation is also always there.
Yeah, well, I think that's really practical advice for anyone out there who's maybe thinking about launching something with their family or friends. Maybe to follow up on something you spoke about earlier, you talked about being in an incubator and whatnot. Is there any element of your family or your personal life that like inspired you to start like a business or start a business with family?
That's a good one. I think Sam, Duke, and I think on a really early age, we already knew that the entrepreneurial path was for us and what benefits that would give to our life. I'll say that sentence again, and I'm not sure what's
Go for it.
Always have a cold.
Okay.
Don't worry about
repeat
it. We'll cut it. We'll cut it.
Yeah, we will not cut it.
We will not cut it. So the question was, is there... we'll start fresh.
We will not cut it. It's that's I decided.
Is there anything from like your family history or from like your youth that inspired you to start this business or like a family business?
Well, I think at a young age, I think we already individually really aligned already on the benefits it would give us as following an entrepreneurial journey. I think it also helps that Duke's father is an entrepreneur, our father as well. So I think it's also our grandpa, by the way.
Maybe subconscious. They never influenced us or said anything about it.
Never.
But maybe subconsciously it becomes an option in your own mind that you can also do that, like start your own business or anything.
Maybe also those shared values that you all have could stem from some of those things that you subconsciously observe in these younger role models?
I think it's subconsciously, when you say it, I think it's subconsciously triggered maybe already, because you hear obviously the stories from your dad about company and going there. So I think it's subconscious, but our parents, and I can't speak for Duca's parents, but our parents at least never ever pushed it. They just let us be. But I think that helped, that made the decision probably way easier once we started with it. But it came pretty natural. Just a example, like at already 14 years old, 13 years old, I already had like a gaming blog where I still have the screenshots of, by the way. Wayback Machine for the win. But there you already can see, like at a young age, some signs. Back then you weren't really focused on it. Like you just did what was fun. But when you look back at it, it's like, okay, it already was there that I like to, do something myself. And then really aligning with the three of us on a young age, I think is, that you each have those values is great. So
another thing we have, like the three of us, is that we didn't really like school.
Oh, so it's also something you had in common.
Duca and myself were on the same school, and for us, like, it was pretty easy. Like we get the grades, but there was no enthusiasm or anything. So for myself, I already knew, like, I don't like it. So I'm not gonna put myself through college because I just don't enjoy it. And then what are your options?
Yeah.
Then you need to get practical. That means you need to take care of your own stuff and make money or whatever. So that way maybe also leads you to that path of starting something on your own. Because there's no other option. I can also sit at home, but no one, maybe my mother likes it, but for the rest, no one will enjoy it.
Headline for the podcast: Sam had to hustle from a young age. No choice. I love it. Well, maybe we can round this off by, do you have any advice for any other entrepreneurs out there who are thinking of maybe starting a business or starting a family business?
Well, advice from my side is starting a business is the same as starting a marriage. Obviously, marriage is personal. Business is business, but you should treat it the exact same way. If you pick a co-founder, family, friend, whatever, build that relationship first, establish those values I mentioned earlier in the podcast, right? Trust. Not sure what the other values were.
You can go to the previous episode to hear the values.
Listen back. But that's super important. So have that relationship established and then go for it.
And for me, I would say align on the goals. So goals, what is the goal with the business? What is the goal for the lifestyle we want to live? How much work do we want to put in? And also, like, goals, they change. They can change on a yearly basis, weekly basis, whatever. So also reassess the goals you've set together with the three of us. And if you still believe in it, and if these are still your goals, I think that's just crucial to really align on the big picture.
Those two combined is the perfect match.
Well,
match.
you heard
Goals and relationship.
Goals and relationship, or relationship goals. Well, that's
either or.
That's been another episode of the Founder's Diary, where we talked about families, founders, and foundations.
Yes.
We hope you'll tune into our next episode coming soon. Signing off for now. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.